Most people think they were thrown into this life by chance, a random birth in a random body into a chaotic world they never asked for. But the truth is stranger. You weren't dropped here. You chose this. Before breath, before time, before memory, your soul saw the path, and it didn't just accept it, it designed it. Every wound, every detour, every betrayal, every breakdown, not punishment, not accident, instructions. You're not a victim of circumstance, you're an architect of initiation. But here's the trick the world plays. It scrambles the blueprint. It covers your map with distractions, fear, conditioning. It convinces you you're lost, so you forget you were always carrying the way out. Because if you remembered, you wouldn't need anything from the system, and the system can't survive without your dependency. This is why you felt out of place, why the rules never fully made sense, why you've had glimpses, flashes of memory, whispers of clarity, moments when you knew without knowing how. That's your soul's design leaking through the cracks, and now those cracks are widening, because the time for remembering is no longer optional, it's now essential. If your soul designed the way out, why doesn't it just show you? Why the struggle? Why the amnesia? Why bury the map beneath pain, confusion, and years of forgetting? Because this reality is not about escape, it's about awakening. And awakening requires contrast. You couldn't just be handed your power, you had to remember it in the dark. You had to walk blind long enough for your inner sight to open. You had to be stripped of answers to start asking real questions. So you hid it. You hid your own way out, not to punish yourself, to initiate yourself. Because power that isn't earned through experience collapses under pressure. But wisdom forged through fire, that becomes unshakable. The soul doesn't want ease, it wants expansion. That's why it encoded the path inside things the mind avoids. Grief, silence, failure. Because the mind avoids what it can't control, but the soul plants clues where the ego won't look. And if you've started to feel pulled toward things you used to fear, if old wounds are resurfacing, if life seems to be unraveling faster than you can hold it together, congratulations. That's not regression, that's the extraction process. The you that was created for the loop is dissolving. And the original blueprint, the one your soul left behind, is starting to surface. It doesn't come with step-by-step instructions, it comes with resonance. A feeling that grows stronger the more you trust it. A direction that sharpens every time you choose alignment over comfort. The more real you become, the more the path reveals itself. And the map isn't outside you, it's made of you. Your soul doesn't speak in words. It doesn't shout. It doesn't reason. It resonates. And the only reason you haven't heard it clearly is because you were taught to listen to everything else. From the moment you could understand language, you were trained to outsource authority to parents, to teachers, to religion, to science, to systems built to standardize thought and reward obedience. And in that noise, your inner guidance, the original language of your being, was muted. Not erased, just buried. But it's still there. It speaks through your intuition, those flashes of knowing that make no logical sense, but feel more true than anything spoken. It speaks through your body, the tension you feel when something is misaligned, the lightness when you're on the right track. It speaks through repetition. Signs, numbers, phrases, dreams, symbols that appear again and again, no matter how much you try to ignore them. You've been calling it coincidence, but it's communication. The soul doesn't argue with the mind, it simply waits for silence. And when you create space, when you unplug, breathe, slow down, the signal gets stronger, the static clears, and the guidance becomes unmistakable. That voice that told you to walk away from that relationship even when it made no sense. That moment when you said yes without knowing why, and everything changed after. That was it. That was the language, not logical, not loud, but exact. The truth is, your soul has been guiding you all along. You just forgot how to recognize it. Because guidance doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like destruction, like isolation, like falling apart. But what feels like collapse is often alignment dismantling everything that isn't you. And when you stop resisting, when you stop needing proof before you move, something happens. You become fluent in the language of your own soul. And when that happens, you no longer seek the path. You start walking it. If this is starting to feel like something you've always known, subscribe and hit the bell, because we're just getting started. You were never off track, not once, even in the moments where you felt the furthest from yourself, lost, numb, out of sync. You were still on path, because the path your soul designed doesn't move in straight lines. It spirals, it doubles back, it takes you through darkness, not to punish you, but to activate you. What you call a detour was actually a ritual in disguise. That heartbreak that split you open, it cracked the shell of an identity that couldn't come with you into the next level. That failure that ruined your plans, it dismantled a future that wasn't aligned with who you were becoming. That illness, that breakdown, that burnout, they weren't signs you were broken. They were signals that your system was rejecting a version of life built on lies. You don't evolve in a vacuum, you evolve through experience. And every so-called wrong turn was designed to wake up something dormant inside you. Courage, discernment, resilience, clarity, compassion, not the kind you read about in books, the kind that gets burned into your bones. This is why your soul doesn't care about efficiency. It cares about embodiment, and embodiment doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from walking through it with awareness. Because when you look back at the wreckage and realize even that had meaning, you collapse time. You stop regretting, you stop second-guessing, you start seeing the pattern that was always guiding you, even when you couldn't see the threads. This is the part they never teach you. Your path is personalized alchemy. It uses your exact trauma, timing, temperament, and truth to deliver you to yourself, raw, real, and ready. So don't curse the detours. They weren't delays, they were activations. They carved space inside you for the real you to finally take shape. And now that you know that, you can stop fearing the unknown, because every step, even the ones that broke you, were steps you placed there, before time, before memory, on purpose. There is a version of you, older than time, beyond personality, untouched by trauma, who never forgot. They've watched from the edge of every choice, silent, still, waiting. They don't speak in panic. They don't beg for your attention because they know something your ego forgot. You'd come back. You always do. This version of you isn't an ideal to chase. It's not a future self. It's your original self. The one that existed before you put on the masks, before you internalized the rules, before you shrunk yourself to fit inside a system that could never hold your light. You may have felt this self in dreams, in meditations, in those rare moments of absolute peace where you weren't trying to be anything and still felt whole. That wasn't fantasy, that was contact. And now the contact is deepening. The distance between who you think you are and who you truly are is collapsing, not because you've figured everything out, but because you've finally stopped running from what you already know. You're not becoming this version of you, you're realigning with it. And alignment doesn't require effort, it requires honesty. It means asking, what have I been pretending not to know? What truths have I buried because they would cost me too much to admit? Where have I been seeking permission that I never actually needed? This is the return, not to an ideal, but to authentic frequency. And here's what happens when you realign. Your body relaxes, your mind quiets. You stop trying to perform your life. You start inhabiting it. Your choices simplify, not because life gets easier, but because your internal compass finally drowns out the external noise. You walk differently, not to stand out, but because you're no longer walking on someone else's map. This version of you, the one who knows, doesn't need to convince anyone, doesn't need to be understood, doesn't need applause, because they remember something the loop erased. The real path doesn't start when the world validates you. It starts when you validate yourself. The map your soul designed isn't a diagram. It's not a list. It's not a set of instructions taped to your subconscious. It's alive. It responds to movement, not thought, not planning, not intention alone. Action is the access point. The soul doesn't reveal the next step until you take the one in front of you. That's how it protects the blueprint. Because if the ego knew the full route, it would try to control it, manipulate it, or avoid the parts that require surrender. So the soul gives it in fragments, a whisper to go left when everyone else is going right, an urge to speak the truth when silence would be safer, a push to leave something familiar before a new option appears. You don't get clarity before you move. You get clarity because you moved. And this is where most people stall. They wait for confirmation, for guarantees, for signs written in the sky. But your soul isn't interested in convincing you. It's testing one thing. Are you ready to trust the invisible? Because when you act from alignment, even without evidence, you shift frequencies. And the map activates in real time. You meet people you weren't supposed to meet. You end up in places you accidentally arrived at. You receive information, resources, dreams, opportunities in exact synchronicity with your level of embodiment. This is the deeper science of reality. It's not linear, it's reactive. Your environment bends to your vibration. The field reshapes itself to match your signal. But the signal doesn't come from mantras alone. It comes from congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions match your knowing, reality listens. This is why fake it till you make it doesn't work at the soul level. You can't fake resonance. And the simulation knows this. It tracks your frequency, not your hashtags. So when you choose courage over comfort, truth over performance, movement over waiting, the simulation can't hold its shape around you anymore. You stop living inside it. You start rewriting it. And suddenly, the way forward appears. Not because it wasn't there, but because you finally became the version of you it was waiting for. This is how you walk the map. Step, listen, adjust, repeat. Each move draws the blueprint out of hiding. Each act of integrity unlocks a new coordinate. Until one day, you realize the path never led you away. It's been leading you back to the place you buried your own light. The closer you get to full embodiment, the louder the resistance becomes. Not from the outside, from within. Just before you step into your true frequency, you meet the final test. Not an enemy, not a failure, but the ghost of the old you, doing everything it can to survive. This version of you was built for the loop, the one who kept the peace by staying silent, the one who performed worthiness to be accepted, the one who shaped their life around what was safe, expected, or familiar. This version isn't evil, it's afraid, because embodiment means death to everything that's inauthentic, and death, even of a mask, feels like danger. That's why right before the breakthrough, the pressure rises. Old wounds resurface, sabotage kicks in, doubt grows teeth. You question everything, even the clarity that brought you here. This is not a setback, it's the final firewall. The mind flares up because it senses what's coming, a shift it can't control. You don't need to fight it, you don't need to fix it. You only need to do one thing. Don't turn back. The old self will offer bargains. Just stay a little smaller. Just wear the mask one more time. Just play it safe. You can wake up later. But the soul has no interest in bargains. It's here for alignment, and alignment means choosing truth, especially when it costs you the version of life you once built on a lie. This is the final rupture before you rise. It's where most stop, where they settle, where they choose peace over purpose. But if you keep going, not perfectly, just honestly, something begins to happen. Your fear shrinks, your field strengthens, your voice stabilizes, and the external world stops feeling like something you have to navigate. It starts feeling like something you shape. This is what embodiment truly is. It's not an aesthetic, not a brand, not a performance. It's living as the frequency of your soul, even when no one claps, no one understands, and nothing outside confirms it, because you didn't come here to be confirmed. You came to remember, and now you're one breath away from full activation. You searched for the exit in books, in gurus, in systems, in strategies, always looking for the map, the sign, the technique that would finally unlock your way out of the simulation. But here's what your soul's been trying to show you all along. You are not inside the maze. You are the architect. The confusion was never the trap. Your forgetfulness was. Because the path isn't something you follow. It's something you become. Every moment you chose truth over comfort. Every time you honored a quiet nudge over a loud rule. Every step you took without knowing the outcome. You weren't moving forward. You were moving home. And now you can feel it. Can't you? The subtle stillness beneath the noise, the calm power in your chest, the way reality starts responding instead of resisting. That's not coincidence, that's congruence. You've realigned with the original design, not just to escape, but to build something new. Because the real reason your soul designed the exit was never to run from the illusion. It was to return as a creator inside it, a disruptor, a mirror, a signal, a reminder, not for everyone, just for the ones ready to wake up, the way you did. And so, here you are. The root has always been in you, not just as knowledge, but as embodiment. And now that you remember that, what kind of world will you construct? Now that you know you were never lost to begin with, drop your answer below, because someone out there is on the edge of remembering, and your voice might be the doorway they've been searching for.